Millionaire marries to help his boss and discovers true love. Imagine waking up one day to find out that your entire life is about to change because of a decision you made in desperation. That's exactly what happens to Emily Evans, the fiercely independent CEO of House Publishing, when she faces deportation after her work visa gets denied. With just 30 days left before she has to leave the United States, Emily comes up with an idea so bold and honestly so ridiculous that it might just save her career. But here's the twist. This plan doesn't just save her job. It ends up changing her life forever. This is the story of how a marriage of convenience between Emily and Logan Stone, her unassuming yet secretly wealthy assistant, turns into something neither of them ever saw coming. Enter Logan Stone, the man who has spent years working quietly as Emily's personal assistant. On paper, he seems like any other employee, efficient, reliable, maybe a little too sarcastic for his own good. But beneath the surface lies a world Emily knows nothing about. When Emily blurts out, "I'm getting married," during a moment of sheer panic, Logan thinks she's finally lost it. And then she drops the bombshell. He's gonna be her groom. What starts as a reluctant agreement fueled by promises of promotions and playlist control quickly spirals into something far more complicated than either of them anticipated. Little do they know, this fake marriage will force them both to confront feelings they didn't even realize they had. The heart of this story isn't just about two people pretending to love each other. It's about discovering who they really are beyond their roles at work. Emily, used to being in control of everything, suddenly finds herself navigating unfamiliar territory. She's not just dealing with immigration officials scrutinizing her marriage, but also grappling with the growing realization that Logan isn't just some ordinary guy. Meanwhile, Logan, who has always preferred staying under the radar, must now step into the spotlight, not only as Emily's husband, but also as part of a family dynasty he's tried hard to distance himself from. As tensions rise and secrets unravel, the line between acting and authenticity begins to blur in ways neither of them could have predicted. One of the most intriguing aspects of this story is how it explores the dynamics of power and vulnerability. At first glance, Emily holds all the cards. She's the boss, the one calling the shots, while Logan seems content to play along for a paycheck and a few perks. But as the charade deepens, cracks begin to show in Emily's carefully constructed facade. Her initial confidence wavers when she realizes that Logan might actually have more influence over her emotions than she's comfortable admitting. For Logan, this arrangement becomes an opportunity to prove himself, not just as an assistant, but as someone capable of standing toe-to-toe with a woman as formidable as Emily. Together, they navigate awkward family dinners, nosy ex-girlfriends, and impromptu weddings, all while trying to keep their true feelings hidden, even from themselves. Speaking of family drama, let's talk about Logan's grandmother, the sharp-eyed matriarch who sees right through their act from day one. From the moment Emily steps foot into the Stone family mansion, a sprawling estate that screams wealth and tradition, she knows she's in over her head. The Stones aren't just rich. They're powerful, traditional, and deeply invested in making sure Logan marries the right person. And yet, despite their skepticism, there's something undeniably magnetic about Emily. Maybe it's her determination, or maybe it's the way she challenges Logan in ways no one else dares to. Whatever it is, it sets off a chain reaction of events that pushes everyone involved closer to the truth. But here's where things get messy. Just when Emily thinks she's got a handle on this whole pretending to be married thing, Sophie enters the picture. Logan's ex-girlfriend isn't just beautiful and confident. She's suspicious. Sophie smells a rat, and she's determined to uncover the truth about Emily and Logan's whirlwind romance. Every interaction between the three of them crackles with tension, leaving Emily questioning whether she can keep up the act much longer. And then there's that kiss, the one that happens in front of everyone at a dinner party, the kind of kiss that leaves no room for doubt. It's supposed to be fake, just another performance to throw Sophie off their trail. But as lips meet and eyes lock, something undeniable passes between Emily and Logan. Something real. As the story unfolds, we see glimpses of a deeper connection forming between these two unlikely partners. They start off bickering like an old married couple, trading jabs and rolling their eyes at each other's antics. But somewhere along the way, those arguments turn into laughter, and those shared glances become harder to ignore. Whether it's dancing together at a ball, splashing around in a lake, or simply sitting side by side in silence, Emily and Logan slowly begin to chip away at the walls they've built around themselves. Yet, every step forward comes with its own set of challenges. Can they trust each other enough to admit what they're really feeling? Or will the weight of their lies crush whatever fragile bond they've managed to build? By the time Logan announces his resignation and prepares to leave for Europe, Emily is forced to face the biggest question of all. Is she willing to risk everything to stop him? The thought of losing him sends her into a tailspin, prompting her to make a desperate dash to the airport. Standing there in front of strangers, she does something completely out of character. She confesses her love. It's raw, it's honest, and it leaves both of them breathless. But just as it seems like they've finally found their happily ever after, Logan pulls out a ring and asks her to marry him. For real this time. Cue the gasps, the cheers, and the lingering question. Are they ready to take this leap together? This tale of unexpected love, self-discovery, and second chances is packed with moments that will make your heart race and your eyes well up. From the boardroom to the ballroom, Emily and Logan's journey proves that sometimes the best things in life come when you least expect them. So buckle up, because this roller coaster ride is just getting started. Will Emily and Logan figure out how to balance their newfound love with the responsibilities of their lives? Or will the pressures of their past decisions tear them apart? Stay tuned to find out what happens next. As Emily and Logan stood in the middle of that airport, surrounded by strangers clapping and cheering, neither of them could believe how far they had come. What started as a desperate plan to save her career had turned into something neither of them saw coming. Real love. But as magical as the moment felt, it wasn't without its challenges. Back in the city, their lives were about to change in ways they hadn't anticipated. The fake marriage that brought them together was now real, but the complications from their past decisions weren't going to disappear overnight. Logan's resignation from house publishing marked a new chapter for both of them. For years, he had worked under Emily, hiding not just his wealth, but also his true ambitions. Now, free from the constraints of being her assistant, Logan was ready to step into his own world, one where he didn't have to hide who he was anymore. But this shift came with questions. Would Emily accept him fully? Could she handle the reality of being married to someone whose life was so vastly different from what she had imagined? These uncertainties lingered beneath the surface, even as they celebrated their newfound love. Meanwhile, Sophie wasn't done causing trouble. She may have walked away that night on the porch, smirking at the unraveling truth, but her presence still loomed over them. Her words echoed in Emily's mind. "You don't seem to be lying anymore." It was true. They weren't lying anymore. But Sophie's interference planted seeds of doubt in Emily's head. Was their relationship strong enough to withstand scrutiny? And what would happen when Logan's family found out the truth about the initial motive behind their marriage? These thoughts kept Emily up at night, gnawing at her confidence. The tension reached a tipping point during the Stone family ball. The event was supposed to celebrate tradition, but for Emily and Logan, it became a battleground of emotions. They danced under the glittering chandeliers. Every glance from Logan's grandmother felt like judgment. Every smirk from Sophie felt like a threat. Despite the beauty of the evening, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that everything was hanging by a thread. When Logan leaned in to whisper, "You look beautiful tonight," it was hard for her to focus on anything but the chaos swirling inside her mind. Then came the kiss, the one that silenced the room and ignited sparks between them. This time, there was no pretending, no audience to convince, just two people who couldn't deny their feelings any longer. But as the applause faded and the whispers began, Emily realized that while their love might be real, the consequences of their actions were too. They had built their relationship on a foundation of lies, and now those lies threatened to tear them apart. Back home, the cracks began to show. Logan tried to reassure Emily, reminding her that their love was worth fighting for. "We can fix this," he said one evening as they sat on the couch, surrounded by unpacked boxes from his move. "We'll tell my family the truth. We'll make them understand." But Emily hesitated. Telling the truth meant admitting they had deceived everyone, including his grandmother, who had always been skeptical of Logan's sudden marriage. It meant risking everything they had worked so hard to build. Their conflict deepened when Logan revealed his plans to take over one of his family's businesses. "I've spent years avoiding this life," he admitted, pacing the room. "But now, I want to prove that I'm capable of running something important, something meaningful." Emily listened quietly, torn between admiration for his ambition and fear of what it might mean for their future. Could she fit into his world, or would she always feel like an outsider? Sophie's return only added fuel to the fire. One afternoon, she showed up uninvited at Logan's apartment, armed with documents that proved their initial marriage application was flagged for review by immigration officials. "Looks like your little charade is about to blow up in your faces," she sneered, tossing the folder onto the coffee table. Emily froze, her heart pounding. This was the nightmare scenario they had hoped to avoid. A federal investigation into their marriage. If exposed, they could face charges, fines, or worse. Logan remained calm, though his jaw tightened as he flipped through the papers. "What do you want, Sophie?" he asked, his voice steady, but laced with anger. "Is this some kind of revenge, because I chose someone else?" Sophie laughed bitterly. "Oh, Logan, this isn't about jealousy. It's about justice. You lied to everyone, your family, your friends, and most importantly, yourselves." The confrontation left Emily shaken. That night, as she lay awake beside Logan, she replayed Sophie's words over and over in her mind. Had they been lying to themselves all along? Was their love real? Or was it just a product of circumstance? The weight of these questions pressed down on her until she couldn't breathe. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, she got out of bed and went to the living room. Logan followed her moments later, concern etched on his face. "Emily, talk to me," he pleaded, sitting beside her on the couch. She looked at him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "What if we're making a mistake?" she whispered. "What if we're trying to force something that wasn't meant to be?" Logan took her hands in his grip firm, yet gentle. "I won't lie to you, it's scary. Everything about us has been unconventional. But none of that matters if we're willing to fight for each other. Tell me, Emily, are you willing to fight for us? Her silence stretched long enough to fill the room with tension. Then slowly, she nodded. Yes, she said, her voice barely audible. I am. With that decision made, they devised a plan. They would come clean to Logan's family, to the immigration department, and to themselves. It wouldn't be easy, but they owed it to each other to try. The next morning, they called a meeting with Logan's parents and grandmother, determined to explain everything. As they sat in the formal dining room of the stone mansion, Emily braced herself for the worst. But instead of anger, Logan's grandmother simply smiled. I knew it, she said softly, surprising everyone. From the beginning, I knew something wasn't quite right, but I also knew that whatever it was, it brought you closer together. Her words were unexpected, but comforting, easing some of the guilt weighing on Emily's shoulders. However, the relief was short-lived. Just as they thought they were moving forward, another twist threw their lives into chaos. A letter arrived from immigration, demanding an immediate hearing to verify the legitimacy of their marriage. With time running out and stakes higher than ever, Emily and Logan faced their greatest challenge yet. Could they prove that their love was genuine, not just to the authorities, but to themselves? As the days leading up to the hearing passed, the suspense grew unbearable. Every conversation, every touch, every shared glance carried the weight of uncertainty. Were they ready to face the consequences of their choices? Or would the pressure finally break them apart? The answer lay ahead, waiting in the courtroom where their fate and their future would be decided. As Logan pulled Emily into that kiss at the altar, surrounded by cheers and applause, it felt like the world had finally aligned for them. But even in this moment of pure joy, Emily couldn't shake the lingering fear that their journey wasn't over yet. The truth about their fake marriage still loomed over them like a shadow, waiting to be exposed. While they stood there, basking in the love they had fought so hard to embrace, Sophie's earlier words echoed in Emily's mind. The truth is already coming out. It was only a matter of time before someone uncovered the origins of their relationship. And when that happened, everything they had built could crumble. The next morning, as sunlight streamed through the windows of Logan's family estate, Emily woke up with a knot in her stomach. She glanced at Logan, sleeping peacefully beside her. His face relaxed in content, and felt a pang of guilt. They had come so far, but the foundation of their love was still built on lies. Would it be enough to withstand the scrutiny ahead? Just as she was lost in thought, a knock on the door startled her. Logan stirred, groggy but alert, as Emily got up to answer it. Standing outside was Agent Wilson from Immigration, holding a thick folder. "We need to talk," Agent Wilson said, his tone serious. Emily's heart sank. She invited him in, trying to keep her voice steady, though every fiber of her being screamed panic. Logan joined her in the living room, his expression calm, but his eyes betraying concern. For the next hour, they sat through an intense interrogation, answering questions about their whirlwind romance, their sudden wedding, and the inconsistencies in their story. By the end of it, Agent Wilson closed his folder and looked at them pointedly. "If what you say is true, if your love is real, you'll have nothing to worry about. But if we find evidence otherwise..." He didn't finish the sentence, letting the weight of his words hang in the air. When he left, the room felt heavier than ever. Emily turned to Logan, tears welling up in her eyes. "What if they don't believe us? What if this all falls apart?" Logan took her hands in his grip firm yet gentle. "Then we fight for it, together." His determination gave her strength, but the uncertainty gnawed at her resolve. Days turned into weeks as they waited anxiously for news from immigration. During that time, Logan decided to step fully into his role within the Stone family business, not because he wanted to impress anyone, but because he realized it was part of who he was. Emily, meanwhile, threw herself into work at House Publishing, determined to prove that she was more than just her visa status. Their lives were busier than ever, but they made sure to carve out moments for each other, knowing that their bond was worth fighting for. Finally, the day came when Agent Wilson returned. With a decision, Emily and Logan sat across from him in the formal dining room of the Stone mansion, their hands clasped tightly together under the table. After careful review, Agent Wilson began, pausing dramatically. "We've concluded that your marriage appears legitimate. However," his gaze sharpened, "there are discrepancies in your initial application that raise concerns. We'll require additional documentation to verify authenticity." Emily's heart raced, but Logan remained composed. "We'll provide whatever you need," he said confidently. Over the following days, they gathered every piece of evidence they could. Photos from their impromptu wedding, testimonies from Logan's family, records of shared finances, all while preparing themselves for the possibility that it might not be enough. Through it all, their connection grew stronger. Every challenge they faced brought them closer, until Emily realized something profound. Their love wasn't defined by how it started. It was defined by how they chose to move forward. In the end, it was Logan's grandmother who played a pivotal role in saving them. During a private meeting with Agent Wilson, she presented a heartfelt account of how she had watched her grandson transform since meeting Emily. "Love isn't always perfect," she said, her voice filled with wisdom. "But sometimes it's the imperfections that make it real." Her words resonated deeply, and when the final verdict arrived, it was exactly what they had hoped for. Their marriage was officially recognized as genuine. With the threat of deportation behind her, Emily finally allowed herself to breathe again. She and Logan celebrated quietly, sitting together on the wooden pier overlooking the lake where they had once laughed and splashed in the mud. As they gazed at the water, Emily leaned her head on Logan's shoulder. "Do you think we would have ended up here if none of this had happened?" she asked softly. Logan smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Maybe not, but I'm glad we did." Looking back, Emily realized that their journey had been about more than just survival or convenience. It was about learning to trust, to let go of control, and to embrace vulnerability. For Logan, it was about finding purpose, not just in wealth or status, but in building a life with someone who truly understood him. Together, they had proven that love could grow in the most unexpected places, even amidst chaos and deception. As they walked hand in hand back to the mansion, ready to face whatever the future held, Emily knew one thing for certain. Their love was no longer a lie. It was messy, complicated, and imperfect, but it was theirs. And that was all that mattered.